Welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast. Today is a very special podcast because we are doing some specials for the PBH Free Fringe. So today it is me, Jem, it is Sean.
Hello.
And we are joined by the fabulous, the wonderful Rik Carranza.
Hi. Hello. Don't know what that was. Hi.
So Rik and I met, and this is the big one. I did the math the other day. Rik and I have known each other nearly 10 years. Because I think we met in either 2012 or 2013. Yes. At the Edinburgh Fringe.
It can't have been that long.
Yeah, it was, because it was like it was the second year that I did the Fringe, and I've been doing it for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So Rik and I met outside of the counting house.
That's right, yeah.
I was flyering for the wonderful Eric Lampar's Testiculating.
Yes. Yep, I remember that.
I remember seeing Rik coming over with a guitar strapped to your back, and you had like one of those giant art folders that I think had your music in it. And I spent a couple of days trying to figure out whether you were just another flyerer or if you were an act or what was going on. It took me quite a while to figure out that you weren't just another flyerer who was really dedicated to various different shows. But you were playing at the counting house.
I was, yeah. In that little room right at the top. I remember that gig. I remember that was Charming, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, oh my god, that show was fun. That show was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I've known you and I've known Sean for, I think I've known Sean maybe 2 years longer.
Wow.
No, like 6 months longer. So I've known you guys both like equally as long as the other person.
Oh, well, this is lovely. I love this revelation. This is amazing. Oh, this is brilliant. Oh,
yeah.
Because
I was sitting there going, oh, can I ask Rik to be on the podcast? Can I? And then I went, wait, you've known him for years.
Yeah, you can always ask me. I'm fine. I'm a nobody. I don't know why you've got me.
No, Rik is not a nobody. Rik, do you want to tell anybody who doesn't know who you are, what you do, and what you do at the Fringe?
Oh my god. Well, okay. Who am I? Is a good question. It's a question I've been trying to work out with my psychiatrist for years, if I'm being completely honest. I still haven't worked it out. I'll get back to you that. I am a stand-up. Well, until the last 18 months happened, I was a stand-up comedian. As you can imagine, there's not been a lot of standing up going on in the last year and a half. So I am a stand-up comedian. I am a stand-up comedian. I've been doing the Edinburgh Fringe since I think the first one I did was in 2000 and must have been 2010. Yeah, 2010. Wow. Yeah, so that was the first one I did. And I've done I think last year was the first year I didn't. No, the year before, because last year was cancelled for everybody. No one went last year. Yeah. 2019 was the first year I didn't do anything at the Fringe apart from watch a few shows. It was quite nice.
I remember because Sean and I went to just watch shows as well. Yeah. And I remember it was I was looking through the program and getting real. I think I might have messaged you as well.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You're not in the program. Did you miss the deadline?
Yeah, no. I remember you messaging me, and I was like, no, I'm taking. I was shaking when I was sending that message, like, I'm taking a year off. I don't know what to do for myself. But I took a year off. I didn't realize it was going to turn into 3. But I did between 2010 and 2018, I've done a number of shows, a few joint ones, but I think since 2012, 2013, I've been doing solo shows. So I've done like Charming. I did a show called I'm a Fan, which then evolved into Still a Fan, which is the Gilded Balloon. That was amazing. Then from 2015 onwards, I did every year for the 3 years. I did a show called Star Trek versus Star Wars, which is yes.
I remember I've been to that show without Jem like, oh yeah, that's my friend. I was like, but I'm going to that show. I must see Star Trek win. And then there must have been like a year later, Jem was like, oh yeah, I know him. And I was like, no, you don't. Shut up. You don't know. You haven't got a Star Trek. I was like, I'm your Star Trek friend. What are you on about, Jem?
I remember that day because I remember Sean, didn't believe that I knew Rik until I think we were in the queue, and as we were walking in, you saw me and you gave me a big hug, and you know we greeted each other like friends. And the look on Sean's face over your shoulder was like, what? Have you paid this person to like uphold a level of coolness?
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you came to the show, obviously. But I've been doing that.
Star Trek didn't win that night. I was like, how? I was like, how is this going on? I was like, how does Star Wars even win episodes?
It's such a crazy show. It's so stupid. I love the show so much. I've been doing it and it's still going on. So obviously during the pandemic, it's like everything's had to change and I've had to like adapt. So I moved it online. So I'm a comedian, and now I have to add to my bow. I'm a streamer now as well. So I'm on Twitch, streaming on there, and the first things I've been streaming was Star Trek versus Star Wars. I started doing Marvel versus DC as well.
Ooh, yeah. Every single time that comes up, Sean has the potential to go on for about 4 hours. I did have to stop Sean about 45 minutes into a chat when he had spoken for 45 minutes. I kid you not. And I was like, okay, Sean, I really have to go now.
I get really, when we're at the Fringe, I get really like, oh, it's about superheroes. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to go. And for the amount of times I've been sat there front row and I've been there like, oh yeah. And like, the acts like play like the cheap. I think it's the cheap pop. I think it's like, oh, who's a superhero fan? I'm like, well, yeah, I am. Who likes Marvel? And I'm like, well, everyone. And then they're like, who likes DC? And I'm like, yeah, alone, right? And then I always get like, oh, no one likes DC. And I'm like, yeah, but I do. I do. I really like DC. I really like DC.
Hang on. I really like DC.
For anybody just listening to the podcast, Sean and Rik are having a merch off.
Yeah. This is my 3D printed Batman helmet from Superman versus Batman.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Even though I don't like that movie, but it's like I like the Batman, the bat suit from it, and I've got lots of little Batmans hidden all over my shelves, because he's my favorite superhero. He's the best. He's literally the best. So I did that. So yeah, sorry, I'm get back on track, because otherwise I will just end up talking about Batman and superheroes and Star Trek.
I'm cool with that. How do you feel about Aquaman?
Do you know what? Right. So first of all, Aquaman is a very underrated superhero in the comics. In the actual comics, he's brilliant. He's utterly brilliant. He's a man who, like, he fed his own hand to piranhas to keep them alive, and then got
a hook. And then he got a hook.
Yes, he got a hook for a hand. He's so good, right? He's the man who, like, I say man, he's a lord. He's like a king. He's a god, right? He got locked out of a meeting at the UN, so he knocked on the door with whales. He caused a tsunami, so whales could knock the door down. It was amazing, right? He has literally punched death in the face and stolen his boat. That's what Aquaman has done. And you know what? Yes to Jason Momoa. Yeah. Right, so just yes.
Yes.
That is what I'm like in the audience of these shows when they get
Aquaman. I think Aquaman's ace.
Thank you.
I remember Sean and I went to a show where they started to kind of I think it was called Marvel versus DC, and it was one of those times where Sean they kind of grated on Sean a little bit for being into DC. And Sean started a fight, well, not a physical fight, but decided I was stepping up to this challenge to the performers, who kind of, you could see the look between them of going, we read this audience wrong. Oh no!
Weren't having it.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you. But
this is why we love the Fringe.
It's so
I once heckled a comedian dressed up as the Green Lantern because he said his lantern was his lighter and his lighter was yellow. And I was like, no, you cannot have yellow. You're a Green Lantern. He has one weakness and it's the colour yellow.
Yellow, yeah, it does not work. Oh, if you're gonna say it, get it right. Get it right, yeah?
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
This is what I was saying, and the act and the audience seem to disagree with my point.
They know nothing. They know nothing,
Thank
Jon
you.
Snow. So I moved Star Trek versus Star Wars onto Twitch, and then I've evolved it. So it's now called Clash of Fandoms. So
Oh my goodness, I love it.
so we've done Star Trek versus Star Wars gets done pretty regularly because it's one of the most popular ones. Marvel versus DC gets done. We've done Simpsons versus Family Guy, Simpsons versus Family Guy, Scrubs versus Friends, Friends versus How I Met Your Mother, Game of Thrones versus Lord of the Rings, Sega versus Nintendo. We've done loads of them, and there's like loads more coming. We did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Thundercats.
Amazing.
So we've done
amazing.
It's so much fun to do. So I do them on Twitch now, which is great. And as well as I just keep playing games on Twitch and being an idiot, which is fun. I'm currently playing Alien Isolation. Have you ever played that? Have you heard of it?
I've heard
I
of
actually
it.
haven't,
I've
no.
seen people play it, but I was like, I don't need that. I don't.
No. My followers, my subscribers on Twitch were like, Rik, you should play this game. And like, I don't play horror games. I play games like The Sims or like Civilization, right? Things where I build things and like I can relax. Yeah. And they've got me playing this full-blown horror game where the alien is hunting me and I can't kill it. It can kill me. I can't kill it.
Oh no.
I have never gone through so many pairs of trousers and in like a month. I'm buying brown pants now. That's literally all I have to do now because it's just
take Deadpool's advice. Just go for the brown pants day.
Yeah. But I will say this: it's one of the best games I've ever played. It's terrifying me, but it's amazing. So I do stuff like that on Twitch. Should I talk about other things that I do? Because there's so much, right?
Well, okay. Well, let's because I think some people who are tuning into our podcast who like the theatre pitching are probably going, this is a very special episode.
I'll talk more later.
So, welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast, the podcast where usually we get straight to the pitching and we take a random online encyclopedia article and each of us come up with a pitch of how we would turn it into a theatre show. So with this Fringe Special, the only other rule to that is it has to be a Fringe show. So we've got to be able to say which Edinburgh Fringe venue or which Edinburgh Fringe company that we'd be pitching it to. And usually Joe, our usual third member, reads out in a wonderful radio voice the article, but he has disappeared and has left me with it, so I'll do my best Joe impression, because this episode is all about the CMYK Colour model. So it's also known as process colour or 4-colour, and it is a subtractive colour model based on the CMY colour model used in colour printing and is also used to describe the printing process itself. CMYK refers to the 4 ink plates used in some colour printing, which are cyan, magenta, yellow and key, otherwise known as black. So that is the article. Rik, you've never done this before. How did you find this? Turning this into a theatre show.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. It was a challenge. It was a challenge. I listened to the podcast episode you recommended, and I liked it very much. I very much enjoyed it. And reading this, I'm just like, what? I think I've got an idea. But bear in mind, like I'm coming from the point of view of stand-up comedy, right? So I'm just like, a theater. I thought, what? So we'll see. We'll see how. Though saying that, I did do theater at the Fringe a very long time ago. So yeah. So.
And Sean, how did you find it? Because you are a designer. You like colour by definition. You got very excited when this came up on the randomizer.
Yes. I feel like I usually do. Like, oh my god, what a great article that is. And then I'm normally like sat there like after we've finished and I'm playing Fortnite and it's rolling around my head and I'm like, no, this is, I've got nothing. But for this one, I actually have something and I think it's good. I think it might be cheating, but I don't care because it's...
That's the Fringe.
Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah. Jem, how did you find it?
I did much the same as when it came up on the randomizer. I was just like, oh, this will be really cool. And I thought the challenge was going to be trying to not just make it sort of an art piece. And I was like, okay, you can have exhibition art pieces at the Fringe, but come on. And I thought that would be the challenge. And then I read the article and I was like, wow, this is a lot of dry fact just about colour and white versus colour versus what, and just colour. And it's all quite numerical. It was So then I looked at it and went, okay, well, I've got an idea. And then I fell in love with the idea. And then I remembered, oh yeah, it has to be a Fringe show. So I think I've gone along the process that a lot of Fringe theatre makers, especially when they, even I suppose when they do the Fringe a lot, is you have this idea that you love and you're like, oh, it'll be fantastic. It can be an arena tour. It'll be this. And then you remember, oh yeah, everything's got to fit within an hour, and that you get in, get your audience in, do the show, get your audience out, and get the show out within an hour, or face penalty and ruining everybody else's day and show. So I think I've got it. I've got an idea. Sean, you wonderfully, before we started recording, decided to break character and not fight to go last, but offer to go first. So, what's your pitch?
So mine is an exhibition art piece.
Okay.
No, right? So, oh, Jem, you've just literally just destroyed my idea.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's better than that. Right, so I only know of this colour format because of the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yes.
Before we were like, you know, we were doing stuff at uni, we were sort of like DIYing it. I know Gemma presents us as this professional outfit, but if you only knew. Right, so up until the Fringe, I had no idea that like printers were like, oh, if you have a poster, it has to be printed like this. So Gemma was like, no, can you put it in like the CR da-da-da-da? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So this article is pretty much like my origin story at designing posters for the Edinburgh Fringe.
Love it. Okay.
So my idea is, I really hope no one from the arts department of the college I work at watch this. So mine is, I'm robbing sort of what they did at the open evening before like you could actually have open evenings. So what I'm doing is each day I'm having a large, massive landscape canvas, and it's going to be situated at, you know, I don't know what the square's called, but you know there's like a little square sort of at the bottom of Royal Mile, and it's sort of like, it's got a square, it's got that pizza van, the one bit goes down to Calgate, the other bit goes down to like the Pie Maker. Yep, proper, you know, proper Edinburgh knowledge now. You know,
outside the Tron. Is it the square outside the Tron?
It's the square outside the Tron. See, I knew I'd just describe it. Jem would know. Pie Maker. Jem's like, yeah, I know where it is. Right.
So I love the Pie Maker.
So they were on the news. You know when the lockdown, the first lockdown happened, and they were on the news. And there was, and it was empty, and it was like Edinburgh was empty. I'm like, whoa, that's what that looks like. And the Pie Maker was like, oh well, you know, normally we get like 1,000 people like a month. At the Edinburgh Fringe, we normally get like 20,000 people a day. And then she seemed so chill about like it, and it was like, oh, Jem was one of them people.
No, it's true. Okay, I every time I go to Edinburgh, I beeline from Waverley Station straight to the Pie Maker to get a tatty dog, because I crave a tatty dog all year, and then finally can get it. I've been to Edinburgh once outside of the Fringe, and I did the same thing. I didn't care the train was about an hour late, and I was going to be late to the show I was going to go see. I was getting myself a tatty dog. So...
Perfect. You have to do that. I like when Edinburgh's home for me, and I don't live there anymore, so it's like really hard. Pie Maker is one of the, like, there's a few places that I have to go to every time I go back. One of them is Pie Maker, the other is Wings, and the other is Illegal Jacks. I need my chicken wings,
Yes.
I need my burrito, and I need my pie. That's me.
Yes.
That's me sorted.
100%.
Okay, so I've got this large canvas. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what
In the
they're
Tron
called.
Square.
You know what I'm about. And then we're gonna gaffer tape the date, not gaffer tape, masking tape the date onto it. And then throughout the day, we're gonna situate one artist, and they're gonna allow people to add to this massive canvas that sort of like references like a show that they've seen that day or how they're feeling. And the artist is basically there to sort of link all these little doodles together. If someone's put a crap one, sort of like cover it and sort of that. So at the end of the day, hopefully you've got this massive, massive poster that is that day at the Edinburgh Fringe, and you take the masking tape off and it's the date. And that is my idea. We're going to make a bunch of massive posters every day.
I
And it's
love it.
made by the people at the Edinburgh Fringe. And I'm having it because it's linked via posters to the article for me. Okay, it's a personal thing, Gemma.
Yeah.
So if you attack it and say it's not theatre, you're attacking me.
I mean, okay, you did tell me strapping a GoPro to a dog and letting it run through a village wasn't theatre. But I will give you this one because I know that at the Fringe, people who don't do the Fringe may not be aware of the restrictions for putting posters up and any kind of artwork that you might want to put up. And it frustrates performers to no end, because it means that's why you end up with so many flyers, because it's our only way of telling you about the show. The idea of doing giant posters appeals to my sense of, I don't know how you're going to get it past the Edinburgh Council, but I want to see you try. So I'm going to accept it as being theatre.
Well, if we do it separately, we can sell the posters at the end. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
I'm always thinking about that money, Gem. Always thinking about...
The producer brain.
I just look forward to that poster bulge. You know, when they've like put so many posters on the board that it just starts bulging. Like, how are we going to prevent that? It's...
Oh! I didn't think of adding posters. I was thinking people were going to draw.
I like it.
But you could make a cat. You might have a collage artist one day.
Exactly. Different art forms. This is it.
See, Gem, I'm highlighting all the art. See, it's not just theatre. I tell you now, I'm going to say that so much on these episodes. It's not just theatre at the Edinburgh Fringe, Gemma.
It's not. It is an arts festival.
Arts.
I mean,
I know.
Some of the things
sometimes
that
I
I've seen can only be
describe stuff
described as
at
art.
work. And the students, they're like, have you not been to the Edinburgh Fringe? It's like the mecca of like performance and all that. And they're like, name some good shows. And I'm like, have you seen Macbeth? But they're all pissed. It's really good.
You can go see all these amazing rooms. No, I'm just going to sit in a dark room and have an Australian comedian scream at me, "Go north, you die, you die, you die."
Oh my God, that show's so good.
Yes. Oh, I know. Yeah, I know that, you know, people turn around, and I am aware of how many times when people ask me about the shows in Edinburgh, how I have seen some genuine amazing art. I've seen some genuinely amazing shows, but I always end up referring to like the times where I've been like, I need to leave this show. What is this? This is not a show.
So many times you sat there and you're thinking, why? What is going on?
Oh, too many times. Usually my own shows. So
Yeah,
I've done that. And I'm sorry, Jem. Oh, Jem knows it's like this show off all the time. Our first show, I was like, what is this? What is this?
I was just about to bring up our first show and how it was first year out of university and everything that comes along with being artists.
Oh yes.
And then the one, because it was quite interactive with the audience, I remember the one show where one audience member, this lovely elderly lady, hijacked the show. Because it was all about social media and your interaction with it. And I was meant to do this huge long poetry bit. I'm not a poet, but I'd given myself a challenge. But to do this long poetry bit about the impact of Facebook. And the poem started with a question of, how do you use Facebook? And this woman put her hand up and then stood up and then began speaking and told us her whole life story. And it was the kind of story you don't want to interrupt, because that feels like a worse thing to do. And then she continued, and I stood there, didn't quite know how to, and I tried a couple of times to interrupt and take control of my show back. And then she was just like, told us all of these horrible things that had happened to her in her life. And then she said, and I never put that on Facebook, and that's why I'm not on Facebook. And then sat down. And I looked up at the clock and went, well, that's the show over. And I had to skip it and then just move on.
Oh my God.
And I just had to close the show.
Oh my God.
My memory of that show was one day someone just stood up and went, not for me, and then walked out.
Yeah.
I've had that. Yeah.
We've all had that.
Yep. Yeah. It wouldn't be the Edinburgh Fringe if you didn't have something like that happen. So it's chalk it up to delusion. No, experience.
No, I think as a performer, it is your worst nightmare to have somebody do that to you, but it is really oddly cathartic when they do, because you're like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah, totally. Like, the world didn't end. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so Sean, you've done your pitch. Rik, would you like to go first, or do you want me to throw myself in front of the oncoming train?
Do you know what? I'll do it. I'll go.
Okay,
I'll go.
right.
I'll go. Here we go. Yeah, you're right. This article is very factual. So it's very factual. So it was just, I looked at it going, how do I use this as inspiration for an Edinburgh Fringe theatre piece? And theatre as well. I had to think theatre. Like, that was difficult. That was very difficult for me, because I'm like, hey, just stick a bunch of colours on a stage and a microphone and I'll tell jokes. And that would have been fine. But okay, I've gone theatre. Right? I've thought this through. Now, unfortunately, I have a venue in mind, but we kind of have to resurrect it, because it is actually no longer a venue. Can we resurrect the venue?
Yes.
Excellent. We're going to see venues, right?
I love sea venues.
Specifically, the one at the top of Victoria Street next to Espionage. Do you know the one I'm talking about? You come down George Forth Bridge, and it's that road that goes all the way down to the Grass Market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sea Main, I think it was called.
Sea Main, yeah, right at the top. Yeah.
Right at the top. We're there, yeah? We're in there, and we're in one of the rooms there. It's an immersive theatre experience we've got on, you're right? So they're sat right in the room, you're right? And it's called CMYK. And it's about one man's descent into darkness, into depression, through his experience in relationships. So we have our protagonist, who's never named. The idea being is that you can put yourself into their position, right? And you walk in, and there are colours throughout the room, yeah, and then it goes white, bright white. Everything is just white. All the chairs are white. Everything is white. Right, and our unnamed protagonist comes on and starts telling his story, telling about his childhood, telling about growing up and and telling us about relationships. And then he meets a girl called Magenta, and all the lights change to magenta, right? And that bit that first third is presented in nothing but magenta. The only lighting is magenta, right? Everyone's in white, but they're in magenta, right? And it ends with magenta leaving our unnamed protagonist in the worst possible way, and it breaks him a little bit. And he's so upset, but he moves on, but he meets another girl called Yellow. That's it, just called Yellow. And suddenly, but the thing is, he's still got the memories of magenta. So even though Yellow has come along, there's still magenta. So we've got that underlying magenta color suddenly filled in with some yellow as well. And they go through the relationship, and yet again the same thing happens. The relationship ends badly, and he carries the baggage of both those relationships with him now. And he meets another girl called Cyan, and they get together, and of course it ends badly. But all this time Cyan has come in, that light Cyan, and as we so we've got cyan, magenta, and yellow colors all on this stage now. It's getting darker and darker as we go into that descent of darkness in our protagonist. And at the end, after cyan leaves him, it just cuts down to black, because that's what's left.
Oh wow!
So that's where I went with.
Is that the end?
That's the end.
Good.
I'd really like that.
That's the end of it, because it's all about, it's not about how you cure yourself, it's about how you can actually be drawn down, how being overloaded by these memories and things that you hold on to can actually drag you down.
Yeah. And that's a big lesson.
I really like that, because in the article it was all about, like, isn't the colour, the way they print, it's all about subtracting colour. You've just used that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and how when you mix all of the colours together, they make black.
Yep.
What you do next week? We've got another article for
you. You're holding on to the memories. That's what he did. He held on to the pain, and that's why it became black.
Oh my goodness. I like the way, Rick, you were like, oh, I'm not a theatre maker, I'm just a stand-up comedian. And then you're like, drop the mic. Goodbye. Thank you.
Never drop the mic. It's expensive.
It comes with blowing the speakers out too.
Yes. I've dropped a mic and I got told off.
Dude, I have to follow that. Oh, I have to follow that. I am a theatre maker.
You can have that one then.
I really like that.
Oh, thank you.
I really do.
Yeah, I was really struggling, and I was like, do you know what? I was just gonna go over the top.
I just really like it, and I'm really into mental health lessons and sort of wellness lessons, and so I'm quite drawn to that as the thing that means that you can kind of use it as a point of entry into talking about some of the stuff that Sean kind of goes, oh no, she's going to start talking about her podcast again. It's mental health again. Stop her. Yeah, so I really, really like that, and I really like.
I mean, the other option I was going to give was just a tribute to Star Trek uniforms. That was the only other sort of thing, blue, yellow, red.
All viable options at the Fringe. This is why I
completely missed that.
So I just dropped that one in there.
Do I even like Star Trek? Yes.
Okay.
I think the bit I liked about that the most is, I think a lot of people, when they think of theatre, they sort of overlook. I mean, I'm going proper like, oh, I done a theatre design degree, but most people overlook like the importance of like the other aspects of theatre, like the sound, the lighting. The things that you add. Oh, I've got the story, I've got the actors. Oh, we add this, but this, the lighting's just as important as the people there, and you've turned that into like its own character, which is I feel really bad because I haven't done that on this podcast in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I like it.
Oh.
And I like also that it's also an example that really illustrates how, you know, when your instinct with the Fringe is to try and keep it as minimal as possible. And I think a lot of shows suffer on the technical side because you don't have enough time to put in a stage unless you're to put in a set. Never mind get a set out unless you can convince your programmer to put you in a really good slot that works for you.
Yeah.
But there is so much that you can do with light, and I've seen some amazing shows where they may not have been in venues that had big lighting rigs, but they thought ahead of that, and they've brought in their own lamps, and they've brought in small little things that you just have one long extension cable and then just plug these things in and go, and it's rough and ready, but it tells this story. And I think it's always something special at the Fringe where you see somebody who's not forgotten about the technical because of this idea of being in quite a transient theatre space. And those are always the ones that stick out in my mind of going, oh wow, you thought about this. All of those bits of theatre, they contribute to the story. So I really like that because I think this is genuinely a possible idea as well.
You know what? I think just to touch on your point, I think you're absolutely right. I think people think so much about the possibilities at the Fringe in terms of performing. You can perform any way that you want and do anything that you want, but actually it is an opportunity for technicians, sound designers, lighting designers to actually experiment as well. I think you're completely right, and I do think there's a lot of shows do forget that. I've seen some I saw a show at Summer Hall where they had instruments on the stage, and they built the soundscape as the show out of the instruments on the stage, and it was just incredible, like proper incredible. Loved it. So yeah.
And I think
they do some really good stuff at Summer Hall. I saw a dance piece, and she must have knew that she wouldn't have like loads of different colours and like a rig. So she rigged it all up to like a projector. And that was her only thing, and the projector was doing all the weird lights for her. And so that was just one light source, but it looked like she had like loads of different LED lights that were moving, but it was just like one.
Yeah,
nice.
And it reminds me of, you know, that there's a theory that I was introduced to, I think by Robert McKee, where it's this idea that put yourself into some tight confines because that will make you be creative. You know, if you give yourself the world of opportunity, you won't be creative because you won't be trying to solve a problem. But if you give yourself confines, you'll get some beautiful gold because you know you've tested yourself, you've pushed yourself to think outside of that, but also within your confines. I like it.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
I'm a bit blown away.
Oh,
there you go.
I feel all humbled now. Thank you.
Right, now to follow that. Okay, so my show, I was really taken by this idea of, it talks a lot about being a subtractive process and how the less light you have, change it, and like the way the different colors interact can form different pictures. And it reminded me of the Royal Blood music video for their song Figure It Out. Where it's colorized blue and it's colorized red at different points, and through the lens of each color, you get a different interpretation of the show and a different interpretation of the story and what's actually happening. And I really liked that, so I thought, okay, this is a piece for the underbelly, because I think the underbelly, I've seen shows where they've taken on experimental stuff like this, and I love it. So I think underbelly, I would do it there. It is a dance piece that is at the underbelly, and it tells the story of, now in the article, just below the title, it says, if you meant CMYK, the album by Marilyn Manson, click here. And that redirects you to Born Killers, the 2012 album from Marilyn Manson. So the dance tells the story of the album Born Killers. It's got the soundtrack of Born Killers. Because I did think, okay, this idea of seeing things through different lenses, Marilyn Manson's also the kind of character who, depending on what lens you're looking at him through, he can mean and be different things, right? So it's this dance piece. But every audience member is given a pair of glasses, right? Kind of like the 3D glasses that you get. And they've got either your red lens or whatever. So to actually produce it, I'd have to work with color theory and work with the subtractive theory. So then the lenses with like 2 or maybe 3 different colors, depending on what I was doing. When you watch the performance through like the red lens, it tells through, the paint splattered on the clothing and the various different things, because dance can be quite interpretive. The different lenses that you're watching the performance through can give you different interpretations of what's actually happening. And so it's working with color theory in that way. It's telling the story and some of the themes of Born Killers and this idea of like CMYK through Marilyn Manson standard for Christianity made yesterday's killers or something like that, which is quite a controversial statement. So that's what I really wanted to explore. And that's the show, is a dance piece where, viewed through different lenses that you're physically putting on, you can flip between them if you want, gives you a different interpretation of what the story actually is that the dancers are putting across. And it's played in the underbelly, because they quite like experimental stuff, they quite like arty stuff, and they quite like something with a little bit of a political edge. Or at least that's my experience of what I've seen at the underbelly. So that's my show.
Nice. Yeah, heavy.
Yeah. What style of dance is it, Gemma?
I quite like... Oh, I hadn't thought about... I like the way I'm a dancer, and I hadn't thought about this. So I was just like, just dance. No, I quite like it when you mesh dance and physical theatre. There have been a couple of times where I've seen that where it's not worked amazingly, because it's just, look how far we can throw each other and how high we can jump. But melding, I'm always into melding ballet, but with sort of like modern dance and things that twist it. Is it Matthew Bourne?
Yes.
He's a choreographer who inverts ballet. And I love what he does. So taking that, but I think also quite physical theatre-y, because it's telling this story and it's using music. There was also another link to a different EP by somebody as the other alternative for if you were searching CMYK. So there was a lot of music that I found in association with it. But it's taking colour theory and taking CMYK's colour theory, putting it on stage, but informing it through Marilyn Manson and Born Killers.
Merged those things. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming out of Jem's mouth? I want to do.
Yeah.
My show's got a special filter glasses, and it's dance to Marilyn Manson. I would never. If someone had said guess, and I'll give you £100, and you get 100 attempts, I'd be nowhere near that, Gemma.
I think a lot of people don't realize how much I really appreciate heavy metal, and I recently no, she says with her little bow around her neck and neat
and her
bob.
robot cat out of a camera shot. Yeah, I'm well into my heavy metal. She's there just stroking the cat.
I have also recently in the last couple of months gotten really into technical death metal and Slaughter to Prevail, which a couple of people at work have caught me listening to this and kind of given me the look of, you all right? I'm like, I find it really calming. This is what COVID has done for me.
Yeah.
What has COVID done for you guys?
I mean, I've literally put on the COVID-19 pounds. That's what I've done. that's yeah. I've questioned my career choices.
I have looked at everything I love and go, huh, you now like the opposite too.
It's like, the comedy industry, that's on fire.
Yeah. And what a joke to have Jem Ralston turning around and going, no, I really like death metal.
Of all the things I expected today. I mean, actually, yeah. I mean, like let's face it. You already shocked us with the Marilyn Manson born killers dance, glasses, ballet. What, like, I mean, like, to be fair, right? To be fair, it sounds the most fringe of things. Like, if you want to talk about fringy, you know, like this sounds like it belongs at the Fringe. That you would go see it, and everyone would go out, and they wouldn't be sure if they loved it or hated it, because they'd be so like, "What have we just watched?" Like,
yes,
like whoa. So it's proper Fringe. But then for you to follow it up by saying that you find death metal calming.
I do. Top tip, if you want, like, because I sometimes struggle to focus, so I'll listen to white noise, like the sound of hair dryers or the sound of, like, vacuums, because it drowns out all of the distractions, right?
Okay.
Legit a technique given to people who struggle with focusing. But sometimes I'm like, if I'm too tired, it just makes me want to sleep. But I found if you go for the like super high beat, super technical death metal, like Slaughter to Prevail, if you put it at quite a low volume, the drums start to create like a white noise, but it's got a beat and a rhythm to it, so that you can kind of like it. So I love it. It's what I use to focus when I'm tired.
I mean, Jem, you know, when we finish, go and find someone to like hug. Just.
Seriously, look up "Demolisher" by Slaughter to Prevail. It's an amazing video, but it's what I use to calm myself and focus.
Have you listened to Christopher Lee's metal album?
No, it's on my list. I want to actually sit and listen to it rather than listen to it in the background. I feel like it's the least that I can do for Mr. Lee is actually give him the time of day.
It's an experience.
Is it? Oh my goodness. Maybe that should be like the secondary show. Everybody always takes up like their main show to the end.
That's your follow-up show next year.
And then like a side hustle show.
Oh yeah.
Just take Christopher Lee, listening to Christopher Lee's metal album on beanbags.
I'd watch that. I would watch you listen to death metal, and I would give you a coffee as well. I'd want to see what that combination looks like.
Gemma,
I did that yesterday. People were asking if I was okay.
Gemma, dressed as a gorilla, dressed as an old man, sits in a rocking chair, listening to Christopher Lee's metal album for 59 minutes, then leaves.
Yes! I would do that.
Does that gorilla still... Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing. Do you know what shocked me the most? What shocked me, because obviously Edinburgh thing, and then when I did the Adelaide Fringe Festival in 2015, it was there. It was in Adelaide. I was like, what? I went.
I love the fact that for 10 years I've been trying to see this show, whatever it may be, but it's always like queues around the block and nobody knows what they're going to go see other than like, this is what it says on the tin.
Literally
and it's always sold out, and I've never been able to see it, and it's like, one day I will see this Goram show.
It's so good. It's the most fringy show ever.
Is it the same gorilla, or has he outsourced it, like licensed the gorilla show to like someone in Australia?
Outsourced the gorilla.
or have they just like got the gorilla costume on a plane all the way over there?
Just the gorilla's costume. They've actually paid for first class just for the gorilla costume. Yeah. It's just sitting there in first class. Would you like some bananas?
Oh wow.
I love it. I love
Oh
it.
my goodness. That's brilliant. So, those, in and amongst all of the fun recommendations, if you have not been to the Fringe, or if you have been to the Fringe, this episode has been full of amazing recommendations of shows and things to go see and venues to check out when you can eventually go to the venues. But those are the pitches for this episode. So we've got Sean's Tron Square based daily canvas made by the Fringe goers and made by the people of Edinburgh over the Fringe. I quite like that. And we've got Rik's mic drop of an immersive colour piece about how baggage can destroy you if you aren't careful. And then you've got the revelation that dear old me loves heavy metal and will do ballet to it, whilst you look at me in different colours and therefore get different interpretations of it. It's layered. Lots of layers.
I'm going to suggest that now. Every time like the dance teachers and lecturers talk to me about, I've got no ideas for like the next show, I am going to, every chance I get, like, what if you do a ballet, right? But to heavy death metal.
Death metal, yeah.
I need to do this. I need to do this, and I need to do it with a 360 camera. Because that's how we make it a virtual Fringe.
Oh my god. I am now Googling Metallica and ballet.
Yes! Yes!
Bellatica.
Okay.
Oh, he's
okay,
got the name now.
I'm gonna go do that. So keep an eye out for that, everybody, whether it's this year or next year. But in the meantime, Rik, are you doing anything that anybody who's enjoyed you on this episode can go and consume more of you?
Oh my god!
Not a Jeffrey Dahmer way, but in a virtual way.
Wow. Okay. Virtual way. So yes, come and follow me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Rik Carranza. I do Clash of Fandoms every other week, and then I just do stupid things 3 days a week, playing games and having fun. Oh. This is going to be way too late, but I'm just telling you anyway. I'm doing Still a Fan, but I'm doing it on Twitch. So it'll exist in video form on my YouTube channel at some point. So yeah, check my YouTube.
Yes, go see it.
Yeah, my YouTube channel. I put stuff on there as well. So former Clash of Fandoms going there. So if you miss it on Twitch, you can see it on there. I have my own podcast. Am I allowed to talk about that on another podcast?
Yes, you are, of course.
Excellent. I do another podcast. I do a podcast with my with a fellow comedian, Matt Blair. It's called The Geekatorium. We spend an hour and a half every week discussing the things that we've been watching, the things that we've been playing. We talk about we have a bit called Sodium Stories, where we find news stories in the world of geek that you should take with a truckload of salt. And we do a Fantastic Five every week. So things like Fantastic Five Saturday morning cartoons, Fantastic Five vehicles in geek culture. So those types of things as well. So we've got that. And I think I saved this one for last because this is like my favorite personal pet project I do. I like movies. I like movies a lot.
Yeah.
And I like dinosaurs. And I feel like a lot of movies could be made better if you just stuck a dinosaur in them. So I created a webcomic called Movies with Dinosaurs. I've almost made 100 of them. But I take famous...
And each of them are brilliant.
I take famous movie scenes and I stick a dinosaur into them. So
I love it.
If it's on
I
Webtoons.
Love it.
Yeah.
Movies with dinosaurs is a point of joy. Anytime I see it come up in my scrolling, I'm like, oh, that's a little nugget of joy. It's made me very happy. I love it. And they're funny and sometimes really touching.
Oh, touching. I think my favorite recent one was the Frozen one. Did you see that?
I saw the Frozen one and I was like, oh, I need to watch Frozen again. Only if it's got dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. But it'd be a very much shorter movie the way that I did it.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah.
Sean, do you want to promote anything?
I only do this, and I'm trying to think, what do I do? Follow me on Instagram where I repost Liverpool goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
And
I
if
don't know
you've
what,
enjoyed
Gemma,
the
you know
show,
I don't
we
do anything else. Carry on.
If you've enjoyed the show, we do other episodes. We've got other episodes throughout the Fringe with special guests, so have a look at them. If you can't get enough of us even then, go hug somebody. But also, we've got other seasons as well. Go look at them and do let us know if you think that you can pitch better than that. But outside of that, I do another podcast and another project called Happiness Anonymous. All links in the description of wherever you found this wonderful video podcast. And this has been part of the PBH Free Fringe, which I thoroughly recommend. Go look at all of the things that are available. If there is a Fringe, which at the time of recording, we still don't know if there's a live in-person Fringe, but if there is, go check that out safely. But if not, anywhere around the world, you can access the virtual Free Fringe, the V Free Fringe, which is a mouthful and a tongue twister at once. And there are some amazing things happening there, and it's all for free. It's free for artists to take part in and free for audiences to consume, which is one of the PBH Free Fringe is one of the only organizations at the Fringe who let that happen and make it accessible in that way, which is why we like them a lot. So go check out everything else on the PBH Free Fringe program. Check out Rik's stuff and love the movies with dinosaurs. Check out some more Theatre Pitch podcasts and other stuff on OFitD. But until then, thank you, Rik. It's been amazing talking to you and seeing you again.
Oh, I love it. This has been so much fun. I've so enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me.
And yeah, I've been really worried. Like now we have like you know, like proper people instead of just us prattling about. I'm really worried. Like, oh my god, people are gonna think we're so stupid. But then, like, yeah, okay, cool.
I now get.
We survived the first one.
I now get to tell my therapist someone called me a proper person.
Yay! The Theatre Pitch podcast, making people's lives better every day. Thank you, everybody. One day we will be up in Edinburgh, and Rik and I will be flying alongside each other again, reenacting things. Hopefully, it won't take until the actual 10-year anniversary.
I genuinely can't wait. Can't wait to go back to Edinburgh. Me too. I finished my next Fringe show for that Fringe, and I was like, I was ready to actually do something again, and then the world was like, no, we're ending. The world ain't happening anymore.
I genuinely miss it so much. I cannot wait. I can't wait to go back with my new show
CMYK.
If you want to go.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't wait to go back. I miss it.
I even miss flyering. And flyering is the worst thing ever, especially in the rain. But there are moments where if I could be stood in the pouring Edinburgh rain trying to hand over a wet piece of paper to someone and beg them to come see our show, I think I would, there's quite a bit right now that I would swap for just that moment.
I would give anything to do a show to literally one audience member.
I know. Everybody's sitting there going, oh, well, I'm talking to a lot of people about memories of the Fringe, and they're all complaining about, oh yeah, we only got 13 audience members, and I'm like, wow, I've not seen 13 people in a year.
Wow. Yeah. One.
Hang on, 13 in one night?
Yeah, it's really Fringe average. I'm like, if I could do my show to one person, just to be able to be near one other person again, that would make me very, very happy.
Me too. Yes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make me happy because my show I need an audience member. So it won't have one audience member.
It wouldn't be a show. It would be a game.
Yeah, it would be.
Brilliant.
So
it'd be just two strangers playing chess in a large room.
And one of them's wearing a costume. All that next year. here at the Fringe. But until then, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for listening. Go check out all of the wonderful things and really enjoy the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And clearly the Freudian slip says that we should end the podcast. So thank you everybody. And